Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to G Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert. And today is March 16th. I think so. Yeah, I think it's March 16th, 2021. So anyway, I've been hunkered down. We've had hellacious winds, 30 miles an hour, constant, all day, all night. They finally calmed down this morning. Well, they calmed down sometime during the night last night while I was asleep. And I remembered getting up and not hearing any wind blowing. And then I fell asleep, and then all of a sudden I heard wind blowing again. Well, what can you do? I was in bed, snuggled down, so I didn't care. So I get up in the morning, and I said, oh, let's go see what the wind is doing. I walked into my weather station, and the winds were at 24 miles per hour. I thought I was going to be hunkered down again all day today, but then all of a sudden the winds calmed down. Right now they're still blowing probably 9 or 10 miles per hour, but I was able to get out and do some stuff today. And one of the things I did was started watering my mulberry trees because they're starting to sprout. And I ran out of water a little while ago, and I'm going to have to switch the garden hose to another one of the rain barrels. And I got two more trees, that one and the other one on the other side of the chicken coop, to water. Now this one I thought might be completely dead because the critters had got chewed off all the top of it. But when I grab a hold of it, it's really got a good anchor, so it's anchored in the ground. So we'll see if anything sprouts out of it this spring. So anyway, over here, this one is doing the best of them all. And as you can see, it's got some fresh sprouts on there. Beautiful. By the way, did I clean my lens? Hey, got a good look at my finger, didn't you? Anyway, yeah, all these are sprouting really well. The other two, or the other three, I haven't seen anything on them, but they are anchored in the ground real well, so I think the roots have taken. We'll just have to see if they do come up. Here's the kids. They're all outside enjoying the weather today. And, well, one of them still, nope, she's over there. I thought one of them was inside. They've been producing a lot of eggs lately, so just really doing a good job. Now see this one, the branches are flexible, and I'm just not seeing any sprouts on it yet. Oh yeah, there's one little one right there. Yeah, so it's alive. But the branches are all getting chewed off on the ends, so the critters are getting to it. Dang ground squirrels. They got a bunch of holes underneath this bush, and I go by and I step on them and collapse them, and the next day they're back. So what I started doing was, when they tunnel underneath like this to get into the chicken coops, I'd pour concrete in the hole, and it seems to change their minds. Now I'm going to do that one and that one. Those are the other two holes I ran out of concrete before I got them done. We'll see if that works. Now on this side, I put the concrete in and they didn't come back, so cool. All right. So anyway, out of all of the weather, the threats of rain and snow and all of that stuff, yesterday they threatened snow, and it snow fluttered for about 1 minute, and that was about it. So over here, 2/10 of an inch. That's all I got out of all of that. 2/10 of an inch. But 2/10 of an inch gave me 1/3 of a barrel on this corner. The barrel on this end over here is full. The ones around the corner, one of them had 1/3. I just used that on the trees. And the other one around the side here is almost completely full. Remember, I drained these tanks all the way down last rains, so it looks like I've got a little bit of water into them. Let's see. Well, it looks like 200 liters, it's about 225. So that's 450 liters. Uh, 450 liters would be, let's see, calculating, probably about 120 gallons. So I got 120 gallons of rainwater out of that 2/10 just in there. But if I figure what I got in these others here, you figure I was probably well over 225, 230 gallons captured in 2/10 of an inch of rain. But I was expecting a lot more than that because it really looked like it was going to be one of those days with lots and lots of rain and lots of snow, and it just never came about. So anyway, my next thing is, as we're walking down, we went by the chickens already. A little bit of trivia for you guys. Did you guys know that chickens are the closest living relatives of T-Rex, Tyrannosaurus? Yeah, chickens are their closest living relative. Pretty cool, huh? The biggest gigantic dinosaur is related to chickens, and that's pretty interesting. Another thing is, of course, everything is starting to grow here because hopefully spring will finally get here sooner or later. I remember last year in March at this time, I had corn in the ground. Well, it's too cold to put corn in the ground. Even my strawberries are suffering from the cold. But one of the things that you should know is catnip. Well, let me show you that before I go into the garden area here. Look at my catnip. Got loads of catnip. And catnip is, well, on cats, it gives them euphoria. They get high on it, basically. But chickens will eat it like crazy. They love it. So I've got more catnip than I need here. So I've been trimming it back and tossing some into the chickens. And they really like it. They go at it pretty good. Anyway, I got peppers on my plants here. These are Anaheims. So, yep, going to get some Anaheims on there. Hey, quit looking at my list. I saw you sneaking a peek. I usually carry it at my left hand, but I got the phone in my left hand. Oh, wait a minute. I still carry it in my left hand. There we go. Now I can point without you showing you my list. That's how I keep track of what I got to tell you. I've been through here and watered everything. And on this one plant that had turned yellow, I started digging up the potatoes, and they're all Yukon Gold potatoes, but they were all about that size and some a little smaller. So I just dug some holes in the ground and planted them again, replanted them, and I'll just use them as seed potatoes and get something more out of them. So I had planted them too close to the surface, and that was the problem. So once they started growing, they pushed their way through the surface, and then the sun got to a couple of the top potatoes and turned them green. And those you can't eat because they're poisonous, so forth and so on. So anyway, got everything kind of watered and going in here. My string beans are coming up. My cucumber bushes are coming up. Then my grafts here are doing well. You can see the moisture inside of the plastic wrap I put around the scions when I grafted. And that was a top of the main trunk V-cut type graft. So that one there, it looks like it's doing pretty good. We'll see how it's going to be a while before I can actually unwrap these and see how well they took. Because if I unwrap them now and we have a freezing night, I could lose them. So I'll keep them wrapped and I'll let you know when it's time, and we'll take a look at them together. Same thing with this one over here. It's showing moisture inside of the plastic wrap. So we'll see how that works out. There's a leaf starting to pop out of here at the top of the avocado graft. So that's a good sign. And over here, got a little tiny leaf popping out of it too, and some little stringers on the ends. So this was a bud chip graft. So we'll see. It looks like they've taken. This one that I put on the old main trunk, not looking too healthy, but it looks like it still has life in it, so I'm going to let it go a little longer, see what happens. Anywho, the flies are starting to come to life inside of my greenhouse. So back to the chickens. A nice little tip for you guys. This is my cabbage from last year. Okay, so when I cut the heads off last year of the cabbage, I left the main trunks of them in the ground, kind of like this. And people say, well, why would you do that? You very seldom, or probably 99% of the time, you'll never get another head of cabbage to grow out of a rejuvenated plant after you cut the head off. Well, what you will get is seed. So they will go to seed. And this one looks like it's starting to produce some seed in there. But this is what you'll get right there. See it? So they'll go to seed, and then you get seed back on them. And what do you do with all of these? Well, I take leaves like this and chop them up and put them in my salad. They're delicious. And then for the other ones, the really big leaves like this, I pluck those off and I feed them to the chickens as a treat. The chickens love them. So don't just pull your plants out and throw them away. If you've got room to let them grow again, saves you money on chicken feed. And one thing you want to do is, if all you ever feed your chickens is grains and stuff that you buy in the store, your eggs are not going to be of the best quality. They need to get out and eat bugs and eat greens and things like that. Well, if you can't let them out because of other situations, like here, now I've got a wild cat running around my property, tomcat. Well, if he sees a chicken, he might just decide, hey, that looks like dinner tonight. So I have to be careful about that. I've also seen packs of dogs and coyotes and hawks and all kinds of stuff out here, so I got to keep them inside. Well, I bring them greens on a regular basis, make sure they eat greens. And I see them when the flies and the moths and things like that get into the area that they live in and they run around in. I've seen them chase one around, and 3 or 4 of them go after the same fly or the same moth. Pretty interesting. And if ants get in there, they eat up some of the ants too. Of course, they don't really like the fire ants. So, because if they eat a couple of fire ants, the rest of the fire ants come in an army and attack the chickens. So they've pretty much smartened up to that stuff. So they don't really bother with the fire ants. They leave them alone. Oh, anyway, yeah, I came through today and checked all my grafts, and they're all still flexible. That's been on there for a while. I wasn't happy with the way that graft went in the first place, but we'll see how it does. My grafts over on that tree, the Sharon apples that I put on there, and the other pears, we'll see how that turns out. And on this one, I noticed that there's a little bud starting to pop out at the end of this one right there. So that graft may have taken. And this one, I don't know. This is a new graft. The ones with the green tapes are the new grafts. This is a Sharon apple down here this is a Sharon apple down on that one. I will see if that takes. It's still a young tree, but that's a nice time to get a good solid graft on, because then over the years, that graft will turn into a very strong branch and become part of the tree. Now, I've been watering the air layer on a regular basis, but since we've been having freezing nights, I'm not sure how that's going to go. My other grafts up here are looking pretty good and pretty healthy. There's a Sharon apple up there on the top. This is a Bosque pear on here, and that's a bud chip graft right there. And it looks like the bud is starting to, the bud is starting to pop through the plastic tape that's holding it in place. This one I'm not sure if it's going to take or not, but I'll leave it there for a while. If it doesn't, what I'm going to end up doing is the same thing I have to do to this score right here. If the others up there take, I'm going to want to keep the top half of this tree. Otherwise, I would cut it off here and graft some new branches into it at this point, and let this be the rootstock for my new grafts. But if I get grafts that take up higher, then I'll start cutting back some of the branches that just produce leaves and no buds. That's what this tree is doing. It just produces leaves, no buds. Well, if that's what it's going to do, then I don't need a shade tree. I don't need shade trees using up my water. So I will have to end up cutting it off. But if these take up there, I don't want to do that. So what I'll do is a bridge graft on this, where I take a scion, even one from the same tree, and I graft it in down here, and then graft it in up here across that injury. And that'll help the sap flow better in the main trunk. We'll see if that's going to be a necessity. Well, if this one doesn't take, I'll be doing the same thing down here. So what I might do is just graft a bridge from down here up to here, so it goes across both injuries. And that'll, later on, it'll grow into it, and you'll be able to see a big knot on the side of the tree where it came together. I'm going to try grafting something into these here. The pods that come on here have seeds on them, so or seeds inside the pods. So I'm going to try apple and pear and see what comes out of that, and see if I get anything out of it. I don't want to damage the tree, so I'm going to wait it for get a little older, so I can do it on one of the branches, not on the main trunk, so I don't kill the whole tree. All right, my plum tree is starting to bud out and show some plants growing on here. My grapevine over there, the green grapes I grew last year, got buds all over it. These are still nice and flexible. These are the new Concord grapes that I put in on Christmas. Let's see, was it Christmas? Yeah, 12/25. I put these on Christmas Day, and there's still plenty of moisture under the ground, so I don't want to soak them too much. But it does look like there's a couple of buds popping on it, so we'll see. I hope these take this year, because I'm really looking to make some grape wine and some grape jelly and that stuff. And it's going to be a couple of years before I can, because the first year or two, you don't really get good grapes off your vine. But last year, this one was in its first year, and it shot up like crazy, and I got a lot of grapes off of it, and they were delicious. They were so sweet, they were like candy. So if the Concord grapes grow up and I can make some jellies and jams, I might have to plant a peanut butter tree, so I can have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But then I'd have to plant a bread tree too. Anyway. All right, everybody. That's about all I can say for today. I'm just happy that things have survived. I mean, the tomato plants took a hit in here because of the cold at night. Been going down below freezing at night. And the gusty winds have been keeping me locked in the house. So I got out today and I did some work, and I'm happy about that. I got to change my flag. The winds last night really were whipping around. I had to keep an eye on the greenhouse, but they never got above 30, so I was okay there, because it's at just around 38 miles per hour is where the winds cause damage to the greenhouse. That's it, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget comments and stuff down below. Oh, one more thing before I go. I had just gotten a question about whether my solar and my wind PMA go to separate battery banks. No, that wouldn't make sense at all. You want them all to go to your main battery bank, and this is my battery bank here. So these are the four new Trojans I put in. I like those. I'm looking to get maybe 2 to 4 more of those, and that'll complete my battery bank to the size that my math said I should have. We'll see how that goes. What I did find out today was that my dump load was making contact. I had more electricity than I needed today. So I put a breaker in here. Now if I turn this breaker on, it goes straight into dump load. So I didn't need it dumping, so I basically just disconnected it from the battery banks, because I'm not really producing anything on the turbine right now. But watch this, 954.7 watts peak. So those winds that we've been getting got it all the way up to 955, say 955 watts being put out by that turbine. That's a lot of electricity. So I don't know if if something went wrong with the controller here, if there was a short in the controller and it's not kicking off. So I'll wait until later on after the sun sets and the solar's no longer putting anything in, because both of my controllers, my Midnight Classic 150 is on float, and my Rover, my Renogy Rover, is on float. So this is 14, this is 13.9, but hey, 1/10 of a volt isn't that big of a deal if there's that little bit of a difference between them. But yeah, they're both floating right now, and it's saying we don't need any more electricity. And I got stuff running inside. I got my ice maker running, and I turned the TV on just in case, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you connect everything into your same battery bank, because you want to keep this battery bank charged. You don't need separate battery banks. You want to get all your batteries charged together in one group. Separate battery banks are backup battery banks, but in order for it to be useful, I'd have to have the same amount of batteries in my second battery bank. Why would I do that? If I'm going to put the same amount of batteries plus these together, I'd rather put those all in one battery bank, and then I'd have electricity after sunset at such a point where I could run air conditioners for everybody else in the desert out here. Jeez. All right, everybody, that's all I have for today. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to leave questions and comments below. Don't forget to subscribe down there, and don't forget to share with your friends. This is G Bear signing off.